We are speaking or having a conversation about wealth. So we'll speak about money and whatever you think wealth is, rich, being rich. And my intention for today is for you to integrate the idea of what wealth is within yourself to the point where you will arrive at the end of today or sometime within your month following today, arrive at a point where you realize we never needed to speak about what we spoke about today. For those who were here last month, let's do a quick recap. And for those who weren't there last month, just try to tune in as much as you can. We spoke about that as we come to the back end of the OMG, the second half of OMG, it's all about the phase 3 of consciousness of this work. The first half has all been about an internal process. It's about integrating things internally. It's about reclaiming your power from the external. Okay, so the processing and the integration and how things land is all about internal. Last month we spoke about that the next or the back end of this program is about the return home, the journey home. You've gone in, but now we're coming back out. Coming back out. If you remember the WTF experience, when we did the oneness meditation, I didn't take you on an inward journey to have that moment of bliss, that moment where you felt no need, that moment where I asked you the question, what do you want right now? And the answer is nothing. What matters right now? And the answer is nothing. We went outwards. Do you remember? Your awareness, I took your attention or your awareness out. And slowly, slowly, we kept going out further and further and further into the physical, which is a reflection of the formless, in the physical universe. Kept going further and further outwards. And it was out there that you experience safeness, wholeness, joy. You experience love, infinite, unconditional, universal love. It was out there that the story became so irrelevant that when I asked you the question, what matters right now, the answer is nothing. It was in the nothingness. So this next 6 months is about coming back out. But you had to go in first. We also spoke about this next phase is about coming back out into the story. The first 6 months is about coming out of the story. Yeah? It was like, come on, that's just a story. But the next 6 months is about coming back to the story. But it's different. It's different, you see. Before you had power in the story, now you're using your power through the story. It's different. Before you're using your power, right? You're using, remember, the moment you're using your power, now whatever word you have for this power of you, your expanded self, your infinite self, the universe, God, whatever word you have for this infinite part of you, just remember, the moment you have this infinite part of you, and then you have you, what do you have? Duality. In other words, here's the thing. This infinite part of you is not infinite. Because if there's two, you can't have infinite. This next 6 months, and now in this moment, is about you no longer using this power that you perceive to be infinite, because it's not infinite, because the moment you use you and the power, that's two. It's about you becoming the power. You are being the power. Then the power uses you as the identity. The power uses the story. You see, it puts the model upside down. In the reality, there's you, and there's this big power. Whatever you want to call that big power. But it ain't that big because it's duality. It's not as infinite as you perceive it to be. It's your man-made idea of what this power is. Whether it's God, whether it's the universe, whether it's your expanded self, whether it's your idea of what infinity is. It's man-freaking-made. And you, as the individual, is always trying to use the universe to manifest your financial situations, to manifest what you love. But even if you do manifest what you love, you realize that you're not free until you do what you love. So in other words, you need to do what you love. Until you become the essence of love, until you become what you love, you will still, even though you're doing what you love to do, and in life you're going, I love my life, I do what I love to do. And you're going, and you may say the idea of, you know, as you go deeper, you'll say, for me, this is not work because I love doing it. If you love what you're doing, it's not work. True, but you still need to do it. You see, that's when you are falling under the idea of there is this universe and there is me. So can you see the limitations there? Yes, you're having a more effortless living, but you're still being finite. You are the drop that has found the ocean within itself, but you're still the drop. You see, when you become the power, you as the power, you then use the story. You use this vehicle. You use the body. You use your ideas. You use your experiences. You use the physical and everything that comes with it. But when you are the physical or your identity, the I as the identity is the form, then you are looking to use the power. Can you see we're putting this idea upside down? You see, that's when it becomes woo-woo. Because people begin to connect with their true essence and they go, there's this infinite part of me, and they feel joy. They feel love. But still at that place, they still can't live it. Because they are now using this part of them. You see, it's still external. And you're still trying to be good. Okay, in religion you try to be good. Now you've changed religion into spirituality. Now you're trying to be authentic, or you're trying... Can you see what I mean? That there is being authentic and then there is trying to be authentic. What's trying to be? You have an idea of what authenticity is, which is really being yourself. And then you go and do the things that you need to do in order to be authentic. Can you see it's man-made? Can you see we are changing religion now into spirituality? And then that's why I get up on stage and go, woo, woo, woo. It's the same freaking thing. Here's the thing. When you become the power, there is no power outside of you. There can't be. You cannot be the power and then have your power outside of you. It's impossible. When you become the power, you use your power to express yourself as the power through the form, through the idea, through the experience. The idea comes, the creativity comes, you are painting it. And then you can then see your power in form. And then someone will look at the painting and go, oh, I feel this. And what they're feeling is where the painting has been painted from. You're sitting here listening to my words, and some of you can listen to where the words are coming from, and what you're feeling inside of yourself is not what I'm saying, but where these words are coming from. You're feeling your own power being painted through this identity called Amir right now. So, that's what we spoke about last month. There's a difference between putting your power into something versus using your power through something. There's a difference. Because some of you may be confused right now, going, well, hang on a sec, it's not about the story, it's not about the story. It's not. And when you know it's not about the story, then you can use to express it. That's when the fun and the dance begins. That's when the games and the singing commences. When you know it's not about the story. When you know it's not about the story, when you know the truth about the story, then you use the story. So can you see the first 6 months is to realize it's not about the story. And it doesn't matter where you are right now, this message will be stored for whenever you need it. First 6 months is to realize there's no power outside of you. It is integrating. It is reclaiming your power and realizing that that thing outside of you doesn't have power. That the power is inside of you. That thing outside of you is happening because of you. It's not happening to you. But once you've integrated that, it becomes the return journey. It becomes about coming out now. Like the fish swimming in the ocean. The fish thinks it's swimming in the ocean. It hasn't yet realized it is the ocean that the fish is swimming in. The fish thinks it's swimming in the ocean. It's swimming in the universe, in the formless. It hasn't yet realized that it is not the fish swimming in the ocean, but it is the ocean that the fish is swimming in. Do you understand? You are the power that this fish is swimming in. You are not this fish swimming or amongst the power. Probably asking the question, well, what has this to do with wealth? Everything. Everything. Because if you're the fish, then the fish needs, it needs a home. The fish needs security. It needs to store things, save for the, like the bear, saves for the, what do the bears do? Hibernating time. Well, fishes don't do that, but you get my point. You need to save for that time. You don't know you're already at home. When you are home, you don't need a home. The home is all around you. Everything that's happening in the story is just a reflection of what's happening in truth. So there. That's what we spoke about last month. Let's start with this month. What do you reckon? Now, everything I spoke about is very interrelated, interconnected, whatever word you want to use, of what we're about to speak about. So there's no mistake. I just shared all that. So my question to you guys is, why do we want wealth? Microphone, please.
to make the experience more fun
Mm-hmm.
and more enjoyable. And
So you need wealth to do that?
probably not, but yeah, I mean, with wealth, you can actually do more.
Okay,
Mm.
great. Thank you. Anyone else?
To me, wealth is freedom and choices.
Okay, so you want wealth because it gives you freedom, it gives you choices.
Because not having it
Yep.
can be a real distraction. That's actually more so than having it. It's this thing of thinking that you need it, and it becomes a distraction in life.
So are you saying that if you had wealth, then you wouldn't be distracted on following what's true for you and your truth?
Not necessarily, but I think I think it's a distraction.
Okay, so
I think in truth it's not a distraction, but I think it's a distraction.
Okay.
My head is saying that it's a distraction.
okay. Well, here's the thing: when you have power in money or, financial freedom from wealth, it is more of a distraction than that's more of a distraction towards your truth. It's because everything that is happening is happening because of the story still. Whether you have options, it's because I have money. Whether you have comfort, it's because I have money.
I think deep down we know that that's not the thing that's going to make us happy, but we kind of are distracted by this quest to get it because
Perfect.
we think ultimately it will make us happy.
And that's why I'm speaking about this, because most of you understand. You understand that it's not going to make you happy, so therefore we need to speak about it until you know that the physical wealth or money, let's just call it money, because some of you think, oh, wealth is internal. Okay, well, let's change that word from wealth to money. Okay, I did this in Melbourne the other day, yesterday or the day before, and everyone was like, well, hang on a sec, wealth is internal. All right, money. Oh, okay. Riches. All right, most people know or understand that it's not going to make you happy. All right, but the knowing hasn't yet set in. And that's why most people go, I know this, I know this, I know this. I go, no, you don't know it. And how many times I say that to people? You don't know it, because if you didn't know it, if you knew it, you wouldn't be saying that. Or if you knew it, you would be living differently. You understand it. There's a big difference between knowing it and being able to live it versus understanding that. Now, what I want you to realize and have a knowing is that who you are and where you are when you have that moment is actually in this moment of physical form as well. But you need to find that space, because that's all it is. We go out into space, which is the first thing that I'm going to be talking about probably after morning tea, is that it is not money that you run out of. Never, ever, ever, ever do you lack money. You lack space. This is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about how to have that infinite bank account. It's a metaphor. Sometimes I say to people, in the WTF, I talk about, I have an infinite bank account. When I'm in America, I convert or I transform my universal currency into US currency. When I'm in Australia, I convert or transform my universal currency into Aussie dollars. When I'm in New Zealand, same thing. I convert or transform the universal dollars into NZ dollars. Now, it's just a little metaphor, right? So I tell people I have an infinite bank account. I have a bank account with the infinite universe. Okay, I have an infinite credit card. Okay, but that infinity does not come from how much money is in my bank account or how much money is not in my bank account. It comes from the space that I hold. It comes from my internal capacity, which is what people call the internal wealth. And inner wealth doesn't come from how good you think you are, what you've done. It doesn't come from past or future. It doesn't come from any external related stories. That inner wealth that most people talk about is an inner space. If I go to Coles or Woolworths or the shopping centre, wherever people are watching this in the world, I think Coles is Australian, and I think to myself, I can buy as much as I want, and I want to buy as much as, for it to last a long time. I would go and buy all these things and come home and realize my space within the fridge is limited. So everything that I've just bought, I can't have anyway. I have to throw it out. So even if the universe wanted to give it to me, to talk in the personal development language, even if the universe wanted to give it to me, it couldn't. It wants to, because the universe's essence is an energy of abundance. You didn't come here, you came here to live abundantly. But then you've got this small fridge. Well, there's no space. Even if the universe wanted to give it to you, you get what I'm saying here, you don't have the space. The fridge is already full. And even if you put something in there, it becomes full. So all these things that you bought in from the shopping centre, you're like, well, what am I going to do with all this? I actually don't have the space. So it gets rejected back out. You have to give it away. And then you create stories where you self-sabotage and you lose things. And you're like, I always self-sabotage. I found somebody to love me, or I found the perfect relationship, or I found the perfect business, or a perfect idea. But then I self-sabotage. Why did you self-sabotage? You didn't have the space. The idea came, the feeling, the energy came to be, and the feeling and the energies come into form to be painted. But then you're like, I don't have the space. You have to reject it. So it's never money. Like I understand where you're at, because it was so difficult to grasp this. When my mother used to say, Amir, stop trying to make money. It's not what you've run out of. It's not what you lack. It's not what you want more of. You just don't have the space. You're spinning your wheels. But I used to go, what does she mean by space? I'd go empty out my garage, empty out my house, empty out my paperwork, my desk, put everything clean, which is just on the physical level. But what's the space? How do you make more space? So can you grasp the idea that you do not lack money? You lack space. And this is the thing. You can't go past this point and if you're full of shit. You gotta see that point. We get people all the time, like I sometimes have clients who go, this doesn't feel true for me, right? We spoke about this last month, about feeling moved, right? And we had a different definition of what really feeling moved was. So a client will go, for example, they want to do the retreat with us, and one of the consultants or the coaches are speaking with them about it, and they go, no, it doesn't feel true for me, right? And so I always tell the guys, there's one way to find out if it's not true for them. Ask them, if we can give it to you for free, would you be interested? So they're dead set, no, it doesn't feel true. Amir told me to follow what's true. Yeah, look, I understand, you do that. But hey, by the way, if I was able to give, and I give this just to show, I train my guys just to show how full of shit people are. And I'm sorry, okay? But I need to give it to you straight. And if you're taking this personally, then you're the one that's full of shit. Don't take it personally. People are full of shit. And I want to show my guys as part of the training, don't believe people's stories. It's their biggest training, right, is to not fall for the story of others. And the only reason they fall for their story is because they've fallen for their own. So I show them, tell that client there you just spoke to, if I can give you this for free, like, and we can give you, we want you to experience this program, would you? Would you then attend it? Now this is the client that says it feels true not to, right? Every single time. Like, I mean, nearly 99.9% of the time, the client would turn around and went, oh yeah, why? Well, it's meant to be, obviously. Well, why isn't it meant to be that the money comes to you and you pay for it? Why isn't that meant to be? Can you see? And I've done this so many times. The point is, right, if you're about the money, don't try not to be about the money. You must first see it. Because the person who's going, oh, it's true for me, it's not true for me, they are all about the money. What's true for them, right, is I am about the money. And what I mean when you're about the money, it means you have your power in money. And money, like I've spoken about many times, is one of the 3 biggest areas that we put our power in. All right? One of them. Money, then there's relationships, and there's health. And then there's this external, I should say there's 4 parts then. This external entity that you put power in all the time. And I'm using all these different examples because ultimately I want you to realize that what you're doing is you're putting your power in money rather than using your power through the story, like I spoke about at the beginning. So many times I've shared with you in previous OMGs, when I choose with my head to follow a decision that's in my heart, and the decision in my heart is already made. Then that decision that's already made, in other words, I become one with the decision, then that forms itself into the story. Whether it's money showing up, whether it's an idea showing up that creates money, whether it's circumstances or people showing up, they're all me. Now, people would love to live like that because you are free. You're not doing things to become free. You are already being free. Your decisions, most people's decisions, and this is what I mean by people are full of shit. Their decision, and I know this because I was one of those people, right? I just know myself. That's how I know people, right? Because the decision they're making from here is a strategy in order so they can become free. There's a difference when you are free and you're choosing to express your sense of freedom versus when you are wanting freedom and you make decisions, strategies. Strategies means, is this better or is this worse? Which one is better or worse? Duality, strategy. Which one is going to get me the outcome that is a positive, that's not a negative? Duality. It's making a decision from there going, oh, this is what's true for me. Oh, please. In other words, it's making a decision to become free. You must first be free, not do the things to become free. So the first thing that we need to understand or know, all right, is that the money doesn't give you freedom. If anything, if you don't have freedom, the money will just take up space. And I said space is what you lack, not money. So how does it take up space? Because the money creates you to think about it. The thinking is what takes up space. In fact, what takes up space causes you to think. It goes both ways. So the first step is you got to look and have a real conversation with yourself. Have a real conversation with it. Just look at every time you choose, all right? I promise you, most of your choices are already financially. I'm telling you right now. Okay, I'm going to be honest, right? But what I want you to do is be honest with yourself. Because most people are trying, they've now, you know, the religion, they've changed into spirituality. So now they're trying to, you know, before they're climbing the religious or being good ladder, now they're climbing the spiritual ladder, right? Because now they're trying to be, well, I don't want it to be about the money. It is about the money. So then they disguise and go, no, this feels true for me. It doesn't feel true to go on this holiday, but it does. But they think they can't. I think if anything I can give to you that is the most raw and most powerful thing is for you to have a look at yourself and just be real. You're not going to be free by making decisions to become free. You must first find freedom. I remember I did a webisode, I think it was just the last one or the one before, when I was in LA with Jamie. I was driving in the car. And it was a good lesson for Jamie, so I shared it with everyone on the webisode. And Jamie said to me, I was looking at the webisodes and I was like, oh wow, and I felt a sense of appreciation for, you know, there's all these people watching the webisodes. And when I say all these people, there was like 400 people that would just watch the weeks before webisodes. And I was like, wow, people obviously really enjoy it. I'm glad that people are getting something from these webisodes, right? And I said it out loud. I said, that's really awesome. I feel like really appreciative that people are watching it, right? And Jamie goes, well, how many people watch it? I said, oh, 400 or something. And he goes, well, speak to me when it's 10,000. I was like, why would I speak to you when it's 10,000? He goes, what's 400? That's nothing. I don't know why you're appreciative of that. That doesn't say anything. And I was just like, well, let me ask you a question, Jamie. And I'm always about pointing out how full of shit my team are, right? And I said, Jamie, let me ask you a question. Why would it be better if it was 10,000? He goes, oh, you know, because you're going to be helping more people. Look at the ego. Oh, we're going to be helping more people. It's obviously impacting people. 400 people. More is better. Like you're going to be helping more people. I go, no. Why don't you be really honest with yourself and tell yourself why it would be better for you? Because it's all about you. Why would it be better for you if 10,000 people were viewing it? He's like, because I love this. I love what I do. I love what I do. This is what they always say, you know, when they need to do what they love. They're like, I'm not saying Jamie doesn't love what he does. He does. Okay, and that's the first step, is to do what you love, but then you fall in need of doing it. In other words, what you love to do is bringing you financial security, if you like, right? So you still need to do it. So you're not still free. And I said, tell me why 10,000 is better. And he's dead set like, Amir, I just love helping people. I love what I do, and I just want to do it bigger. I said, Jamie, all right, this is for you. Be honest. Go behind that feeling that you're having that you love to share this, and see if there's anything else behind there. And he goes and stops, and Jamie's very willing. Stops, looks behind that and goes, well, okay, well, if there's more people, then I would have more clients. Ah, more clients. And I can help those clients, and I can coach them. And I go, oh, what does that mean? Because, well, I'm doing what I love and I'm helping people again. Okay, what does that really mean, Jamie? He sits like that. Well, I can make more money more effortlessly, and I can then, you know, travel business class with you. I'm sick of going back there in economy. Every time I fly, I'm like crossing my fingers for an upgrade. I don't want to do that. I want to go business class. And that's the illusion. The illusion is he needs more money to fly business class. I said, Jamie, you I don't fly business or first because I have more money. I do that because I have more space. And if my space gets taken up, then in the story, I would have less money. And then I could perceive that I can't fly that way. It's space. You see, how many people do you know who have money and can't spend it anyway? Why can't they? Like, how many people do you know? Probably family members. They've got the money. But because they don't have the space, they can't use it. They can't use it as to experience the appreciation of it. I'm gathering by now you're starting to, some of you at least, start to drop in to realize, wow, it's not about wealth. But even when you go back into your everyday life, when the bill comes, when the financial or the pressure comes, just understand that pressure is not because of the story. The pressure you're experiencing, which if you go back to reflections, in the month of reflections, the pressure that you're experiencing has nothing to do with your financial strain. The pressure you're experiencing is a pressure that you're holding on to within yourself. So then you create a story that you can reflect, that you can say is the cause of this pressure. Along this path, you look at this, along this path, how many of you, this is month 8 now, how many of you have come to a point of realizing where a circumstance has showed up, and amongst that circumstance, or within that circumstance, if you experienced that 3 months ago or 6 months ago, you would have had a resistance or a reaction. But then you're like, and then you experience the same circumstance and you're like, I don't feel reactive to this. In fact, I feel very at peace at this. Put your hands up if you experienced that. Every single one of you have experienced that. Why? The circumstances didn't freaking change, did it? Same freaking circumstances. In fact, probably even worse. Because your space became bigger. We spoke about this in a couple months ago where we said, you will never overcome your fear. Stop trying to overcome your fear. Here's your fear. It's not the fear that you need to overcome. It's the space. You need to have bigger space. Because if your space is here, can I borrow your hand? Put your hand right here. Okay. Put your hand right there. Okay. This is your fear, right? When your space is that much, all right, there's a story that you think is the cause of your fear, but it's because the fear is living within you, right? And you're thinking, I have this pressure inside of me. I have this. Yeah, it's because it's your space. There's not much space between the fear and you. But as you expand your space, what happens? What happens? What happens to the fear? The fear is still there. The same story may still show up, but you're not having the same reaction because you have all this space around it. And you're like, it's the same thing showing up. I just don't feel reactive towards it. Thank you. You know, imagine the fear is still there and the space is as much as this room. So, in previous months, we spoke that your awareness is the part of you that becomes, if I can use the word aware, of your expansiveness. We spoke about, and we've just touched on right now, that who you truly are is already expanded. Yes? So you're not, and expanded means space. You don't need to make more space. It's just that your awareness of your space is small. So let's get that right, okay? Because you're already infinite, or you're already expanded, which means you already have infinite space. It's just your awareness of your space is small. So what happens when you're making space, because you're not really making space, you're actually expanding your awareness of your expanded space, if that makes sense. And we spoke about this just before the break, where we said as you're on this path, you'll notice that similar stories that happened months ago or years ago that would have you cause a huge reaction doesn't cause the same reaction because your space is now expanded. And that's why we have those things show up, to show you that your space is expanded. So what you use is your reflection. You use your reflection so you can mirror, go, wow, I've really expanded. So you would create a story to go, that would really cause me suffering normally. That would really cause me being disheartened. That would, or normally would be, you know, when I would break up, I would be disheartened for a year. But now I'm noticing that I was just disheartened for a couple of days. Is there something wrong with me? Should I be remorseful? Like, you think there's something wrong. Your space is expanded. And that's why you use the story so you can reflect and go, oh wow, I've become expanded. So the first thing that you need to understand is that to make more space, you're not making more space, you are just expanding your awareness of the expansiveness of your space that already is. Does that make sense? Okay, because the part of you that goes, how do I make more space, is the drop. And it's going, well, how do I make more space? And then I will give you something, and then you'll use it as a tool or technique to expand space. But it won't be able to expand space. So, I've already touched on it. The present moment. You know, a lot of the work that we do, we refer to the present moment. When you are in the moment, and I spoke about this a couple of months ago, not when you are in the present moment, because the present moment is, like I was just talking about the waves, it's at the surface level. Why is that at the surface level? Because in the present moment, it still has a past and it still has a future. For there to be a present moment, it has to have a past and a future. If you say I'm present, what you're really saying is I'm in the middle of my past and future, which means my past and future is still influencing this present moment, but I am in the middle, okay? Which is the door of the moment that's now. When you drop deeper, I'm just giving you little reminders of previous months. When you drop deeper into the present moment, and how do you drop deeper into the present moment? You just keep giving space. You know, one of the ways that my sister, for example, teaches people how to be present is she uses the form to find the present moment. So she'll go, right now, place your attention onto your feet. So if you place your attention on your feet right now, and everyone go and put your feet flat on the ground and place your attention on your feet, or place your attention on your fingertips. You know, put your hands out in front of you right now. If you place your attention on your feet, you place your attention right now, what are you doing? You are giving space to your feet. Therefore, you're feeling the space that surrounds the form, and you feel a tingling sensation. Okay? So that's one way Gaz gets people to continuously be present. What I always continuously guide people to do is to place their attention on the breath. Now, the breath is, if you like, the part of you that's formless. So there's two ways of finding the present moment, which is space, guys. We're talking about space here, which is wealth. So I just want to make sure I've captured everyone again. We're still talking about money, still talking about wealth. Your attention, using your form part, your physical part, putting your attention on your feet right now, right? Bang. You are giving space to your feet, and you are feeling the sensations in your feet. Here's my question. Has those sensations always been there? Yes, but your attention was somewhere else. In other words, your awareness was somewhere else. Who you are is your awareness. Where you take your awareness is what forms who you are. You are not this body, but you are your awareness, right? If your awareness is just of the physical, then your space is very tight. But if your awareness expands outwards, you know, Jamie was asking me recently, we were at the beach, he goes, well, how do I make more space? I go, Jamie, right now, stop. Look around you. Place your attention on the waves. Just bring your awareness of the waves and watch the waves doing what they're doing. Bring your awareness into the space around you. And I took him through this whole little process. Bring your awareness and watch the trees moving, right? And he just went, wow, I can feel the space right there. That space is life. that space is the ocean that the fish swims in. You see, that space is constant. It's the flat line. You know when I talk about the ups and downs in the WTF? You go up and down, the positive, negatives. What takes you away from the constant is this. This is what takes you, your positive and negative thoughts. It takes you away from, in other words, it consumes space from where there is space. The flat line is the space, that emptiness. And I will do a little guided thing. Call it a thing. I'm trying not to call it a tool because then you guys will make it into a tool. I will give you a practice and you will feel that space. I promise you. We're going to use your breath, right? And it'll be instant, like you will feel it. Like right now, amongst your breathing, there is space, but you're not aware of it. If you go there with your mind is continuously trying to make the space into something. In other words, what I'm saying, listen very carefully. It's trying to fill up the space. When I say your mind, I'm talking about your ego, I'm talking about the part of you that needs identity. If there's a space and there's nothing there, then the identity doesn't exist. So what the ego or the I as the identity, not the I as the infinite part of you, What the I as the identity does, when it goes to an empty space, it wants to fill it up with things. Okay? So then it can exist, so then it can have an identity. It's like, oh, there it is. And what does it fill up with? Thoughts. And what does that do? It takes up space. Let me give you an example. You feel true to do something, right? The feeling that arises comes from space. That is why when you feel it, you feel, oh my God, it's possible, right? Your mind then goes to fill that space up with things. What does it fill up with? Where am I going to get the money from? Or, I've got the money, all right. When's the best time to pay for that? Well, I wonder if I can get a discount. Like, as a strategy comes in, can I get a discount there? You know, can I get a 2 for 1? Or do you know what I mean? You know, when's the best time to use this money? Or all these strategies come, and it takes up space. So this is what you got to realize, is that the space is already there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have felt its possibilities when it arises within you. And if you're going to yourself, well, it doesn't arise within me much, it's because every time it had in the past, you would fill it up with space. Well, you would consume the space by filling it up with things. So before you go into the mode of how do I make more space, just understand the space is already there. Just go back to whenever something arises, is there space in there? Yes, there is. That's why you feel, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe I never thought about it before. I can't believe it. Right there, that's space that you call intuition. That's the space coming to you, and it's going to be manifesting itself from formless into form. But you take that space away by thinking. So the first thing you got to realize is that the space is already there. Before I even go into expanding space. There's nothing to expand when it's already there. Okay? That's the first thing you need to grasp. Well, actually, the first thing you need to grasp is not being full of shit. Okay? So be honest with yourself, and that's what I'm really saying. Is just be honest with yourself and ask yourself, why am I not doing this? You don't have to tell anyone else. Just watch what you do with money. What's one of your homeworks is going to be throughout this month. Watch the thoughts that arise when you go to give money, express the appreciation of money, or spend money, or whatever you want to call it. Watch the process. And just be honest with yourself. Because I think when you're being honest with yourself, that's what's going to give you the courage. You know, honesty. Courage is in honesty. Courage is in being open, and honesty is being open. And all you're being honest or open to is yourself. So that's the first thing. Don't be full of shit. Be honest. Watch what happens when you go out there and buy a coffee. Watch what happens when you go and pay your bill. Watch the processes that take place. And just feel yourself opening up. I was going to show you something this afternoon. I'm going to do it, in fact, now, so you can practice it over lunch break. I want everyone just to drop everything out of their hands and just sit back. Come on, sit back, and we're going to do a little, it's not a meditation, so everyone keeps their eyes open. All right? We're not going to do a meditation. I just want you to observe. Remember, and we've spoken about this previous months, when you breathe in, everybody take a deep breath in, as deep as you can. Breathe in. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. Come on. That's it. Your capacity, breathe out. You can breathe out. You're sitting in the game. Breathe out. Your capacity of how much breath that you can take in, your space, is as big as your lungs. That's all you can take in. Can you see? This is reflecting back to money. The space that you have is dependent on the size of your lungs. Metaphor. However, if you bring your awareness outside, if you bring your awareness outside of this body and realize that you are not this body, you are not the breath that goes in this body. Because when you think you're this body, you are that much breath. But if you bring your awareness and realize you are not the fish, you are the ocean. In other words, you are the breath. You are the energy amongst the breath that's outside. Then you no longer are finite or limited in space, because your space is infinite. But then you put one drop of yourself in this body and come back out. You're never separate from it. Can you see what I'm saying? When you're the body breathing, doesn't matter how rich you become, you're still limited. You have money, you can't spend it. You spend the money, it doesn't make you happy. You don't have money, you freak out. It's limited. But place your attention outside, place your attention on the essence of who you are. You then realize you are the space, and you're putting one drop of yourself into the body and coming out. But when you breathe in, the moment you breathe in, your computer, your thinking takes over and goes, I am that much breath. It almost disconnects from it. Do you understand? We'll do the practice and you'll understand at a deeper level. So, what I want you to practice right now is just to sit there, being present, and simply place your attention on your breath. And when you feel present, when you found this moment now, I want you to see if you can find or notice a difference. When I say a difference, see if you can notice a trend or a difference of some sort when you're being present. You see, before you weren't present to your thoughts because you were listening to what I was saying. Now you're being present to your thoughts. Before you weren't present to your breath because you were listening to what I'm saying. Now you are being present to your breath. And as you're being present to your breath, which is giving space to your breath or bringing your awareness to your breath, you're noticing the breath going in and going out, yes? Before you weren't noticing it. Now everyone is noticing the breath going in and going out, right? Now that you're noticing it going out, see if you can notice anything else. Bring your awareness now to see or observe if there is a difference between the breath going in and the breath coming out. Observe the breath going in, observe the breath. Slow everything down as much as you can. Just let yourself be right here. You see, when you're breathing in and out, you just have this, you just assume what it's meant to do. You know? Well, what do you want me to notice? I'm breathing in, breathing out. It's just like, and I want you to really be with your breath. And we're going to break it up into 2 different parts. And there is 2 parts to your breath. So notice the part going in. And as that finishes, notice the transition. As it then comes out, then notice the breath out. As you finish coming out, notice the transition. As you come back in, then notice the breath coming in. So in truth, there's actually 4 parts. There's the breath going in. There's a transition point where the breath going in is now turning and it's coming out. Then there's another transition point where it's coming and then the breath is going in. So there's 4. Breath going in, transition point. Breath coming out, transition point. Breath coming back in. Who wants to share what they observed? Microphone, please. Can you switch it on? Yep.
The thing I noticed was it doesn't stop. It's and in the transition there was empty. And the image that came to mind was the infinity as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, interesting, very, very interesting point. In the transition, what did you say you found?
It was empty.
Empty.
In both transitions.
In both transitions, there was emptiness. Anyone found that? Did anyone else find in both transition, there was just space? And if you haven't found it, you might go and try a little bit more and actually you'll notice it. In the transition point, there is life. In that point is space. Right there, space. Okay, cool. And you saw a little infinity thing because it's going back in and out, and just like the ocean. We spoke about this with the Melbourne group just the other day. Someone said felt like the ocean. You know, when it comes in to the shore and back out. It's coming in and coming back out. But the ocean is constant. The breathing, the coming into the shore and coming out is the breathing. It comes in, comes back out. But where the breath is coming from, where you would notice it in the transition, is the ocean, the fullness of the emptiness. If you go to a beach, I always remember this beach I would go to at night just to sit there and ponder, Balmoral Beach up on the North Shore, northern beaches. And it's one of those beaches that doesn't have waves, so you can just sit there, but you can, and it just has there's little tiny waves that just roll in. It's just like the breath. The water comes in, and then water goes back out. But look out, look at the depth. It's full of water. It's full of space. And in the transition, you noticed the fullness, the emptiness. You're looking for space. It's right here. You just have to bring your awareness. Remember, your awareness is who you are. If your awareness is small, you become small. Doesn't matter what you do, you can't fill up the fridge. The space is small. You expand your awareness, you live more of your abundant feeling. So there's no use in talking about money. It's actually irrelevant. I'll talk more about that by the end of today. Right. You ready to keep going? None of this will work if you have power outside of you. The moment you have power outside of you, in this case, we're talking about finances, financial, work, wealth, whatever you want to call it. Okay, you can put your career and work and your business into the same category. If you have power outside of you, and we spoke about this in Reclaiming Power Month 1, how do you know you have power in something? Does anyone remember? How do you know it controls you? That's right. Spot on. Spot on. Someone's present. It controls you. That's how you know you've got power in it. How do you know it controls you? Because you're trying to control it. So simple. So here's the thing. If you have power in something, it means you're in duality. In the WTF experience, I present something that's very difficult for most people to get their minds around. That the physical world is an illusion. What do I mean by that? Okay, you need to see that it is an illusion before, you need to see the lie before you can see the truth. You need to replace the lie with the truth. What do I mean that it's an illusion? It's an illusion that that form, the physical, has any power. That's the illusion. Because the moment something outside of you, whether it's your finances or anything else, or a disease, or your health, the moment something has power, that means you don't, because you're in duality. So none of this will work for you if you have power in something. So how do you know you have power on something? Let me give you some reference points, if I may. I feel a love to live a certain way, live life a certain way. And that certain way is to do what I love and to be who I love to be, to experience what I love. Now, when you have power outside of yourself, you think to yourself, for example, I can't do this because I don't have the money. It has nothing to do with the money. There's no power in the money, right? The power is in the feeling that I love. And when I choose to follow the feeling which is an energy, formless, begins to manifest itself into form and gives me the perception that the form is separate to me. Does that make sense? Having your power in something means your feeling arises, but then you look at the form and ask permission. Can I have this? And in the form in this case is your financial situation. It has nothing to do with my business, Be Free People, if I am to live what I love. My options, my sense of freedom has nothing to do with the business. The business has to do with what has formed itself based on the feeling that I have chosen to follow. And when you follow the feeling, you allow the feeling to come out. And when it comes out, it manifests itself into form. An artist has a feeling, and it begins to paint the feeling, and now you see it with your eyes because it's now in form. When I'm speaking to you, a feeling drops in, or better word, a feeling arises from within myself that has no words, and I could not even understand what the feeling is. But the moment I begin to speak the feeling gets formed into words. And then my mind can, or my head can go, I understand what I just said. Or I write it in words. I am an artist myself. We are all artists. We are just painting. Now, some artists don't paint the feeling. Because they go and look at what's been painted and they say it's not possible. The power is in what's been painted. You see, you can't use any of this. If you feel outside is real or more real than the feeling that is arising. So if I was to describe to you how I live this, all right, it is when the feeling arises, I follow the feeling rather than ask permission of the feeling that's already been formed. The part of me that's already been painted. And when I follow the feeling, the mistake that most people, including myself, have made many times is that the moment it manifests itself into form, it distracts you. Let me say how it distracts you. I decide to live a certain way. I decide to, let's say, like Jamie was talking to me about flying business class. Remember that conversation before? I remember I was flying economy to America every trip. I didn't even think flying business. You know, economy is $1,500, business is like $8,000-$10,000. What, are you crazy? And then one day I went, yeah, I am crazy. I love to fly business. Then, now here's the thing, I said yes to the feeling. I didn't, when you don't say yes to the feeling, you're looking to say yes to the how. You're looking for the how to see if it's possible. But when you say yes to the feeling, do you want to know what it feels like? Who wants to know what it feels like when you say yes to the feeling? You will all relate to this. Ever had a moment where you know something's done? That's when you said yes to the feeling. And guess what? When you know something's done, you say, I don't care how it's done. I know I'm doing this. How many times have you said that? Why have you experienced that in the past? So you can have references of it right now. So you can go, yeah, I've experienced that. And that's the purpose of our past. So we can just have references, not to live in it. Right now you have a reference. Yes, there's been times in my life where I knew something was going to happen. I knew I was going to do something, and I didn't care how. That's when you know you've said yes to the feeling. You don't care. You still don't know how it's going to happen necessarily. All right? The certainty is coming from your decision that you've decided to do it. It's not coming from you knowing how. So I decide I'm flying business from now on. I can only do that if I have space. I can't make that decision. Because the moment I go to make that decision, there's no space. It straight away goes, well, how? It's not possible. That's why when I say to people make a decision, they go straight into how. Then the feeling begins to form into a story. Now what happens in the story? Okay? In this case, right, I still have limitations around money, right? I still think paying for a flight once a month to Los Angeles, $8,000 is ridiculous. So it comes in a different form. It's not going to come in the form that I think is not possible. I get a gold membership from Qantas sent to me, and they said, you've been flying with us for a little bit. Congratulations, you become gold. I go, oh, what does this mean? Then I realize I can get upgrades. So I began to get upgrades using my points, and I began to fly business. That's how it formed itself, right? But I still, one day I remember realizing, one day I remember not getting an upgrade. And I was like, oh, I didn't get an upgrade. And I've been flying business all this time. And then you go back into, I actually had to go back into premium. It wasn't economy, but premium. It wasn't as bad as, and I went back there and I was like, and I just sat there and I was like, why don't I just buy the business class ticket? I know it's just here. So then I decided to buy a business class ticket. Now over here, it's not possible because the company, all the money that comes in goes out. There's all these expenses. You can't increase the expenses. $100,000 flights to America. I mean, you don't even do that in OMG in America. Can you see? Up here, it's not. I say yes to the feeling. The next thing I know, I'm buying business class tickets. The next thing I know, Qantas is sending me emails saying, buy a business class ticket on discount, $6,000. All right, bang. I'll buy two, thanks. I keep pushing myself. Do you understand? Like, I've explained that in manifestation before for you. I've explained to you that so many times. If you make the choice here, and there's nothing wrong with using here, but let the feeling use here. If you're making the decision here, you're making a limited decision, meaning you manifest another limitation. Over here, within the space, it's infinite. That's my infinite bank account. I don't need the money to be in my bank account for me to make the decision. All I'm doing now is continuing just to expand my awareness. So I know I'm not limited at all. You don't need to manifest. When you're getting what I'm saying to you, you don't run out of money, you run out of space. Within that space, you no longer need to manifest. It is manifested. Remember we spoke about the decision making. We said that infinite being doesn't make a decision. The decision is made. You see what words I'm trying to describe? The finite being decides because it's duality. Should I do this? Should I not? What's finite decides. What's infinite is only one decision. There's only one. It's not deciding if I should. It's decided. You see, you can't put that. You can't even understand that. But what do you mean? If it's decided, it must have decided at some time. Can you see how you just screw yourself? It's decided. And that's why I say, when you follow the feeling, you notice a feeling that's already decided. That's why I never decide. I, as the identity, choose to follow the feeling that I, as the infinite, decided upon. And that's what I'm saying to you. You may pull the power out, and not have power, then when it manifests or morphs itself into manifestation, into a story, then you go and give your power to the story and go, oh, that's what works. That's what I got to do. There's nothing that works. You're coming from the nothingness. Every single moment it's different. Every single moment you're open to infinite possibilities. How you made your money last time has nothing to do with how money comes to you this time. So my suggestion is go back to month 1, restudy month 1, reclaiming power. Because if your power is outside of you, then you can't be the power, can you? And it's very easy. Notice when the power is outside of you. Notice when you want to make a decision and you think, you go straight to your head and go, oh, financial. Notice it. That's what I did, and I just kept practicing. Just kept practicing and going, oh look at that. I want to sell that program because I think it'll be successful. I want to do this business because just let it go. People go, what does it take to live this way? You know what it takes is for you to keep falling over and over again when you make a decision based on something you have power in, until you get to the point of realizing, you know what, it doesn't work this way. I have continuously done something out of an agenda enough times where I've got to a point I'm like, every single time I've got a slap in the face. Every single time I've been left with feeling unfulfilled. All right. I did that so many times over and over again until I realized I get it. There's no power there. What I kept basing my decision, which is something to do with outside, there's no power there. I don't need to work to make a living. I've decided the life I have chosen based on the degree I'm willing to follow the feeling, and then a story morphs where I'm getting paid an X amount of money to support my manifestation. It's you see what I'm trying to say? It's the opposite. It's not because you get paid this much money that you have this much choices. It's the choice you've made based on the feeling that then morphs itself into a story where you get a job, you get an idea, you get an inheritance, you get whatever. It just morphs itself. And I'm continuously morphing the story based on the feeling. The more you expanded your space, the more you feel you are worthy or deserving of whatever it is that you love. Because you have space for it. Your fridge has become bigger. You have a cool room now. Do you know? So then when the feeling arises to go do this or to go and have this or to live a certain lifestyle, then you feel deserving or worthy. So you're not, sabotaging. Because you go, well, I've got all this space. Yeah, bring the food over. I've got a massive cool room. But when your fridge is full, you just go, I just can't have that. And you go, I don't feel I deserve it. So then you sabotage it. It's all about space. Every month you come here. Right now, you're sitting here making space. Do you know right now, and again, I won't use the word making space because that gives you the wrong indication. Right now, you are becoming aware of your space. Did you know that? Every month you come, every month you leave a different person. Why? Because one person here is being what they're speaking about. And when you're around someone who is being in the space, you feel the space. Now, if you go and be around someone else who's passionate or is coming from a space and then maybe they're painting a picture or they're singing a song, you feel the space. I'll show you some of the videos in the WTF experience, yeah? You see some of those awesome videos and you're like, You just feel the love. And I say to the audience, it's not the story of, oh wow, they didn't believe themselves and then they did it, and it has nothing to do with it. It's got to do with the space they're singing from. And you feel it. That's why some people in your life, you love being around them, because every time you leave them, you feel expanded. You feel light. And remember, that's the other feeling to describe space. It feels light. When there's not space, you feel heavy. Bless you. So, can you see that we really didn't need to talk about money today? Like, can you see how, it is irrelevant? You will get to a point when you have space, all right? Is breathing important? Yes. But do you take up space thinking, where is my next breath going to come from? How am I going to manage the breath that I currently have? Or what happens if I run out of breath tonight when I go to bed? Are those thoughts or those ideas taking up space in your mind? No. Is breathing important? Yes. And that's exactly how it becomes. Is money important? Yes. I have to pay the rent. I have to pay my office rent. I have to pay wages. I have to pay, all the expenses that I have. Just like you. But I just don't think about it. I am aware of it, but I'm not thinking how. That's none of my business. Am I thinking about how the tides are changing right now on the beach of Bondi? Am I thinking about how the sun on the earth is turning? Do I think about that? No. Am I manifesting that? Yes. I, as the infinite, is manifesting it, but there's no thought around it. It's taking care of itself, just like nature. Nature takes care of itself. I, as the infinite one, have designed it that way. So then I can experience myself being infinite in a part of myself. When my financial limitations, if I have any, are all according to the space I have. And the space I have and the things that take up space is when I go into how my team should be, how this ought to happen, how this should happen, how this would happen. So the biggest element that takes up space for me, or has taken up space for me, has been that word how. So I wonder if that's the same for you. Just feel how much space opens up when you take away, how is this going to happen? How am I going to manage this? How am I going to do this? How this should happen? How this could happen? How this would have happened? Those are the things that take up space. I think if I get you to understand, the biggest thing from today is that if you are in your power, the question of how doesn't come into play. It just doesn't come into play. Infinite being doesn't think how, infinite being just decides. The how is the expression of the infiniteness. It's the energy moving to express itself.